Howdy, and welcome back to You've Got People Problems, where we tackle the leadership challenges that no one wants to talk about, but every business faces. I'm your host, Melissa Ortiz with Activate Human Capital Group, and this is episode 7. Today I'm joined by Bill Gerard, an EOS implementer and someone who has spent years helping businesses grow and thrive. One of the struggles that Bill and I see with our clients is that the recruiting process starts far too late, when they're desperate to fill a role. So we agreed to create an episode dedicated to recruiting in a proactive way. This episode, we're exploring several proactive recruiting strategies managers and leaders, note not HR, can take to ensure that roles are filled easily with A players as they become available, and how to get the right people in the right seats to build stronger, more aligned teams. If you're a business owner, leader, or entrepreneur looking for practical strategies to solve people problems and scale your business effectively, you won't want to miss this conversation. Let's get to it. So welcome, Bill.
Yeah, well, thank you, Melissa. Nice to see you. Thank you for inviting me, and congratulations on your continued success with your podcast and your all of your consulting. So I'm excited to be here today. Just one thing, I am a certified EOS implementer. I'd like to think I'm an expert in it, but we have actually a title called Expert Implementer. You need 500 sessions. I just did my 250th last week. So I'm halfway there, 4 years out on my own. But EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System, based on the book Traction. The book Traction's been around for about 20 years, created by a gentleman named Gino Wickman, an entrepreneur named Gino Wickman. And so EOS is built off the book Traction. About 1.5 million copies of that book have sold. And so what we do as certified or expert EOS implementers, we help businesses, business owners, leadership teams, entrepreneurs get strong in 3 areas we call vision, traction, healthy. And really what we do is help them implement a simple set of practical tools, a proven process. So this proven process helps them get strong in the vision. That's figuring out, hey, where are we going? What's our vision? And agreeing on a plan to execute on that vision. The traction part is executing on that vision with the focus, the discipline, the accountability. And then the healthy part is just being a healthy, cohesive, functional team. So what we find when we work with companies is, as goes a leadership team, so goes your whole organization. So after you've implemented EOS, everyone in your company, if it's 10 employees or 250 plus employees, they're all aligned on where you're going, your vision. They're executing on it throughout all the departments with that focus, with that discipline, with that accountability. And then the organization's a healthy, cohesive, functional, results-oriented place to work. So that's EOS. And by the way, any of the listeners, if they want one of the tools or even a copy of the book Traction, my team is happy to mail that out.
I can see you've got a stack of them behind you there on the shelf.
I do. So I can take one of those and put it in the mailbox, and it's kind of fascinating. It was today is actually my anniversary. 4 years ago was my last day working at my previous company, Merrill Lynch. I was there for 10 years. I ran a consulting and coaching group for the West Coast, and we would go out and work with these biggest and fastest growing wealth management teams, right? 5 to 25 team members doing 3 million to 30 million in revenue. And these teams are led by women and men who are financial advisors. And they've literally started out with a phone and a phone book, and they built these businesses up. So Merrill invested in our group, the consulting group, to go out and help these teams with the business planning, some sales coaching, but more of what's the structure need to look like, right? You're running a big business. And then the leadership piece, a lot of these folks never were taught how to lead or manage people. And it wasn't always pretty. And just my quest to find better tools, I had a team say, Bill, we don't need your help. We run on EOS. You should pick up this book Traction. And it was a little over 4 years ago. I had that. Somebody told me that that financial advisor said that he didn't need our help, and I should read this book. And I did, and actually read it in one sitting that night. And so that's my story. I'm 4 years in, so kind of a big day. So I'm excited to be here with you, and hopefully that answered what the heck is EOS.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. I neglected to introduce our topic today, which is always be recruiting, because that's one of the people problems that so many of my clients, so many of my friends run into as entrepreneurs, is that we wait until there's a need to start looking around to see who's on the market. And so I thought we'd start there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Ortiz, and I am a talent optimization expert. I've been working in this space for the last 18 years, and it's really the thing that drives me, this idea of activating talent getting the right people in the right seats, make sure they're engaged and they stay makes our world a whole lot easier and makes recruiting a lot less necessary, except for the growth that we're experiencing in our organizations. And so I do employee engagement surveys. I use predictive index as one of my core tools. I love the Gallup Strengths Finder. I know Bill and I have lots of good overlap in that space. So that's really where I'm coming from. And I just see so much commonality. I've got a 10-person veterinary practice in Western Nebraska that I work with. And I work with Gucci in the Western Hemisphere doing manager training in their urban areas. And it's amazing how they all have the same people problems. And I'm sure you see that as well, Bill, in so many different kinds of businesses. So I thought maybe we could start there. As you're thinking about the sessions that you're going through, whether they're annual planning sessions, they're quarterly planning, what people problems are really coming to the top right now?
Yeah, good. And thank you for your introduction. Love it. Yeah, I think we have a couple of the same strengths. So I work with just set everything straight here. I work with the leadership teams of companies, 10 to 250 employees. I have some I do have clients internally, right, at Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan. But what I see is it's a reactive approach to recruiting. I love this, always be recruiting, right? We say always be selling or always be closing. It's kind of cheesy, but always looking for relationships, right? Really, at the end of the day, business people are in the relationship game. The reason a business is built or exists is to help customers, help clients, help future clients. And so, how do you do that? Well, you need people. And so the biggest problem out there is we're going so fast that we aren't focused on recruiting. And the best time, maybe this is a great place to start, best time to actually recruit is when you're full, right? Now you're not desperate. You can take your time. People want what they can't have. If you have a great business, you're going to attract higher level talent. You're going to have a longer runway to get to know these folks, to make sure they are right and fit in with your culture, live and breathe their core values. Maybe we can get to that in this segment today, which is super important because a lot of companies, they want to, they tell me, hey, Bill, we want to build this intentional culture. All right, well, let's define your core values, right? Make sure they truly are your core values and you live and breathe these and you hire, fire, reward, and recognize people. But we don't spend enough time going out and recruiting. And when I say time, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're on the executive team of a company or the leadership team of a business, I mean, if you spent 1 hour per week, that's 52 hours a year. My math is right. You're going to run into people that can help your business, help you build that intentional culture. Maybe you meet that candidate or you meet someone who can introduce you to that possible candidate or recruit. But it's a long game, Melissa. And what I see is most of the time my clients, I work with growing companies. You do too, right? Fast moving.
Yeah.
Right. How do we hit sales numbers? How do we grow the top? How do we grow the top? How do we be more profitable, right? Run and execute and run on the EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system. But we're not proactive enough on maybe the most important thing at the company, and that's our people.
Yeah, I like that. And the best time to recruit is when you're full, is what really stuck with me. It's kind of like I was reading a book the other day and it was talking about the best time to plant a tree. Well, 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Right now.
Yep. Yeah. Yesterday. The third best is today.
Yeah. And I was thinking about, if we're looking for people who are going to live and breathe our core values, the worst way to figure that out is in this really compressed window of an interview. The best way to figure it out is over time and multiple interactions with these people. And so I've seen leaders in the past who are they're looking at wait staff at restaurants. They're sourcing people and sometimes it's in the form of a compliment, like, hey, you're not destined for this. You've got a lot bigger fish to fry in the world. Here's my card. I'd love to help you figure that out. Just kind of intentional mentorship, but also things like people who are selling to you as vendors. Who do you like? Or who are you interacting with as a project manager at another company that may be a potential good fit for you? And you've got this extended interview time where you get to work with them, see what their work ethic is like, see what their responsiveness level is like. And I'd love to hear what you see clients doing that emulates some of that behavior.
Yeah, yes, you're spot on. Let's start with well, let's back up, right? So if you and you work with these companies too, right? So we're do planning, right? Planning's thinking about the future. A lot of people, they just want to get through the day, right? They have so many things coming at them, probably people problems, right? Because we've hired the wrong people, wrong seat type thing. They don't live and breathe our culture, or they don't get what we do or want it, or even have the capacity or skills. So it's just if I'm a leader, I'm defining exactly what I'm looking for, right? And it might be someone on my leadership team, or it might be one level below, but have that defined exactly what that role is, right? And that's pretty straightforward. What the role is, what they would be responsible or accountable for, and so that's on paper, right? 6 or 7 bullet points, maybe at most. And so we're shopping that, right? And let's start with our inner team, our executive team, or at the company, right? If this is such a great place to work, everybody here would be, sending us recruits, or, don't keep us a secret. So that's one part. The other one is, I like what you said, the vendor, right? We work with vendors. They work with other companies like ours, and letting them know, hey, here's what we're looking for. We don't have an opening today, but I'd like to have a candidate or two, right? And Jimmy over there, and he's going to be retiring soon. And, it's 2 years out, but we want to start looking today. Right there, that's a different mindset than Jimmy retired last week and we need to find someone yesterday, right? So we're just going to bring somebody in who maybe they fit in with our core values, maybe they can play the role, but we're desperate, and that's a reactive mindset versus a proactive mindset. So, and again, it's one of the, not to sell EOS, but one of the leadership abilities we do a lot of work around is, and we say leadership abilities, these are leadership abilities that businesses, leadership teams need to master to break through those barriers. And that's predicting, right? If we know somebody's going to be leaving, or we are bringing on a big account and we're going to need more headcount, we're looking today, not when the ink is dry on the contract, or they say goodbye for the last time and leave the company door. So getting that, I think the word is that proactive mindset. I don't know. Do you see that too, or
I just think it's critical. I was actually, one of the questions I was going to ask you was around, if we got that proactive mindset, what are some ways? And a lot of companies have a standing, like, if you bring us someone and they stay for 6 months, you get X dollars in a bonus. But other than just a standing program, I really liked what you were saying about, we know somebody's going to retire. We have to have enough trust with that person that they can tell us ahead of time that they're planning on it, and then put a plan in place. And for the record, I've had way too many clients who say, yeah, I'm going to retire in 2 years. 2 years comes and goes, they don't. And then the CEO's in this place where, okay, well, I thought we were making a plan, but it's a really sticky place. But I was wondering about what creative things you're seeing in client companies they're doing to encourage that A, communication, and B, that intentional recruiting rather than just a blanket program.
Yep. And let's go. Maybe this is another topic, Melissa. You just brought something up, right? I'm going to retire in 2 years. Junior's taking over. It's 5 years later. Junior's like going at, I haven't retired, but Junior's still hanging on, thinking he's going to get, this big book of business. So that's another topic. So let's go back to where you were talking about.
I think that has something to do with letting go of the vine.
Yeah, letting go of the vine, or like just when. Well, another topic is, when do you actually retire, right? You don't want to do it too late when both knees are blowing out. You got some medical issue and you got plenty of money. Okay, all right, let's get back to topic here.
Yeah. Creative ways. How are companies getting the word out to their employees to get out to their networks that this is what we're looking for in the next, I don't know what the right timeline is, 3 to 6 months, 1 to 2 years?
Yep. Yeah, it's about well, first of all, where it works is in companies or on teams. Again, I have some teams at these big companies that are very entrepreneurial. So where it works is when we have a culture in the business where we're open and honest, right? So there's a big trust factor, like, hey, and so everyone's, and there's a mindset that's more abundance and love, not the goofy love, but but just the love of our business, the passion, versus scarcity and fear. Okay, and so we in that team mentality where we're trying to build the best team we can have out there. Teamwork is so important. It's kind of this hidden factor. And so just getting the word out, like letting everyone know, here's what we're looking for. let us, you're our best recruiters. You work here. You can be very open and honest with this potential candidate or recruit that we want to bring in, and you can help vet them, right? You can help filter.
Who do you want to work with?
Yeah, who do you want to work with? And so it empowers people to, help build this culture. And also you can say no, like it's not the right person versus, hey, we need 3 people tomorrow and I got 2 interviews. So we're definitely going to hire those 2. And we don't even, they show up late. Like, no. So,
No.
but just get the word out there, Melissa. I think communication is everything, right? Sometimes people need to hear something 7 times. And I do see companies that are like, yeah, I'd love to bring someone in. They were working at, you said always looking for talent, Nordstrom. Like, how many people probably have been hired out of Nordstrom back in the day, selling shoes there, quality people, great experience. Same with working at Enterprise Car. They sold
great training programs.
Starbucks. Like just finding these talent, you see these people with the right attitude. You think they might have the right core values, pass it along, help them out. I know people have helped me out to get where I am. And so I don't know, we're going on a little tangent here, but just got to.
Yeah. And I've heard, back to the proactive reaching out, you were talking about an hour a week. If we could get to the point where every manager in the organization was nurturing their network an hour a week, heck, an hour every other week still gives us 26 hours a year, that we're nurturing these relationships, with people we've worked with either tangentially or directly, that could do a whole lot to change the recruiting landscape and save some of the recruiter fees that I know can be astronomical and don't always work out anyway.
Yep. Yeah. A lot to unpack there. Doing that, just say that, yeah, that's the people's time. All right. 30 minutes a week. Let's get down to, all right. Getting something. And so, going out there and looking for talent, and just think, when you do have that opening, now you as the executive at the company, or the leader on the the leadership team, you're in a power position, right? You are in control. You pick who's out there. Hopefully you've already, met with these people several times. You know who they are. They're loyal. They're not just job jumping. They're going to be there for a career. And, maybe they've already spent maybe a day at the company, right? Shadowed somebody. So it's just a different mentality. And what I see works out there is, a lot of companies, especially in sales, right? Let's pick on sales, right? We're always looking for our best salespeople. We know who these type of people are, right? Outgoing. They're motivated by success. Others are too, but sales. Let's go sales. So sales. The best salespeople, sales managers, and with my clients, is the best practice is they have a spreadsheet with all of the prospects, right? Those are future clients, customers, accounts. So they got a spreadsheet with that. And then on that same spreadsheet, there's a tab for opportunities with current ones, right? I got everything from financial wealth management to trucking companies, right? So more opportunities with our current clients, right? Maybe we can go do more business with them, all right? So they're on that list as well. Then they have a third tab. That's talent, right? People they've met, people that's in their pipeline, so they don't have to go put something on Indeed and get all these weird resumes from people all over the world, literally all over the world, right? Or go, I don't know, I'm probably dating myself, like Monster or just they have 3 tabs, right? Outside prospects, current clients where we could do more business with, or talent. So, and just setting a goal. Each quarter, I want to put 3 names, 4 names on there. I don't know.
So actually, I want to take us down that rabbit hole a little bit, Bill, because I have so many clients who are very tactical. I'll do it. Just tell me what to do. Let's give some thoughts on what might that look like. I mean, it could be anything, right? From take this person out to lunch, comment on something they say on LinkedIn, because they may not even ever come as a talented salesperson to work for us. They may go to work for someone else and tie us into a proposal they're doing, or what kind of tactical things might we throw out there as like, oh, I guess I could do that. It wouldn't take me 2 minutes to comment on their LinkedIn posts that they made.
Yeah. So a couple of things. You can go on LinkedIn, right? Looking for this talent. Somebody gives you a name. You give them a call, or let's go back to Starbucks or somebody at Nordstrom. I don't even know. I don't have a Nordstrom in my town anymore. But just finding that talented person and say, hey, how about a cup of coffee or a phone call? I'd love to help you out. Right? Just pay it forward. and find out, what are you just ask questions, like open in. What are your career plans? How can I help you? I love this. How can I help you be a connector or a resource for your career?
Yeah.
Help you be a connector or a resource, and they'll tell you, and what have you done, and how do I help you, and then here's what I'm looking for. I might have a position for you, not today, but at a certain point, I just like to love to keep you in mind. Maybe we touch base each quarter, or if it's going to be in the next 6 months, maybe we touch base each month, get you in, maybe interview with our executive team or that department, maybe even spend a half a day, see exactly what we do. So you get to learn about us, our culture, and exactly what we do, right, with the technical work. We get to learn about you a little bit more. This is, people come here at our company and they're here 10 to 30 years. It's not a job hopper place, right? So just creating, even if it's not that, that's what we're trying to create. And so just staying
And I'm
in
going to
touch.
actually pause you there, Bill, because something you said earlier really sticks with me as I'm picturing this interaction you're describing. It's that position of power. I'm coming to you saying, I'd like to support you. And maybe it'll work out for you to come to work for us, but maybe you just get some mentorship out of it. The amount of as flattered as I would feel if I was in that position to say, whoa, someone really thinks highly of me, is going to only increase my confidence and career prospects, even if nothing comes from our interaction. So if we think about the pay it forward mindset, even though it might be in my own best interest to be recruiting that way, it's in a very intentional investment way that is going to leave this person with a great view of the company, whether they come to work for us or not. So we're out in the marketplace as brand ambassadors as well as recruiters, is what I'm hearing.
Yep. Yeah. Good. So let's take that person, right? So we met her, Starbucks, we met for coffee, or we had a phone call, right? 20-minute meeting, right? How can I help you? There's a couple things that come out of it. Maybe she ends up working at our company. Maybe we introduced her to somebody, right? We're a connector. We help somebody else. We help out you, Melissa, right? You're looking for some talent, put her in front of there. Or she knows somebody who could be a good fit for us, right? And so I think at the end of the day, this business stuff, right? We got all this AI and all this technology. It's beautiful. It helps us be the most effective and just
Efficient.
get stuff done faster and faster. But what we also forget is relationships matter, right? And if you give, you get. If you give, you get. If you can help out enough people, you'll get what you want. I know it sounds weird. It's been going on for a long time, but it's that abundance mindset. If I help this person, I don't know if she's going to work for us, but something good's going to come out of it, right? And momentum begets momentum. So that's my thought there.
So I'm going to take us in a different direction now, because I think this is really good content. I want to do a little bit of what happens when we don't get this right, when we don't get the right people in the right seats. How do you see it showing up as issues in the business? You talked about the kind of secret sauce around teams, how it's easier said than done. I know a lot of the work we do in EOS is simple, but it isn't easy. Tell us what some of the issues you see popping up look like when we get the wrong person in the culture, the wrong person in the seat.
Yep. So there's two parts of this, right? So there's 6 key components of EOS. One of them's the people part. It's I think Gino Wickman said it's 80 to 100% of all the problems in a company are because we don't get this right. So right people means they live and breathe your core values, 3 to 5 core values. These are rules of the company. And we use these to hire, fire, reward, and recognize people. Well, if in what we allow, we accept, right? Or what we tolerate, we accept. And so we have a powerful tool called the People Analyzer. So when I go in as an implementer, we start with the leadership team. If they have core values, we test them with the People Analyzer, right? Is Sally, is she exhibiting this core value? Most of the time that'd be a plus. Most of the time she's not, that'd be a minus. And sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. It's a plus minus. So that gives you a snapshot of where everyone is with the core values. Maybe they need a conversation, because with each core value, we want a couple bullet points. But let's take a basic one, right? Always be learning. Okay, what's that mean at a company, right? And so a couple bullet points, exactly what that means. And so it gives us a snapshot where we are as a company, and then also sets the bar, right? The standard. If we have 5 core values and we're bringing someone on or we're keeping someone in our company, I'd say today, depending on the company, probably need 4 pluses, right? 4 of these core values you must be living and breathing all of the time. The one I see lately is have fun, right? The guy's an engineer. He crushes his job, does 4 of the core values, but he doesn't come to the beer bashes, in the parking lot on Friday afternoon. That's fine. That's fine. We're cool. He's in there coding. Okay. Uh, but what I see is they're just not living and breathing the core values. That's number one. Number two, we're tolerating it. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I talked to a client. He called me, "Hey, Bill, just need a little bit of your time. We let our head of business development go today, and I know who the person is." And I said, "Oh, okay, tell me more. All right, what's going on?" And he goes, "Yeah, he was here for 2 years. We gave him a full bonus both years. He never closed any business. Got a lot of complaints. In fact, last week he left $100 tip for a $30 bar bill somewhere on the company." And I was like, "Well, did you have numbers for him, a scorecard?" "No, we never got that far in the 2 years." Did he know the expectations? No. Was he living the core values? Yeah, we just didn't hold him accountable, Bill, to those. I'm like, he goes, and we knew there's something wrong after about 6 months. Okay, so you held him on for another year and a half, and yeah, and probably 500 grand a year job, right? And no, didn't bring any revenue in. So it's just kind of interesting that this, and hopefully we're going to get to it, how important the interviewing process is. But I know you wanted to go on the people within the company. At EOS, we teach the leadership, management, and accountability. Nip this stuff immediately. Have those conversations immediately. We're open and honest. We're calling out. Well, when someone's not living the core values, we are calling out the behavior. But we've also shared what those core values are at least 7 times, so they can. You can't tell me you've never heard them. You've heard them 7 times. So
My rule of thumb, Bill, is they don't get it till they're mocking you. So whatever the topic is, if it's our core values, especially, until they're making jokes among themselves about it, they haven't really clued in. One of my favorites, I have a peer of mine, an EO, and one of their core values is eat your vegetables. And it's the coolest. It's like we do the right thing proactively because it's good for us long term. And I just think it's the most creative, descriptive, like, yeah, we eat our vegetables. And so there's lots of jokes about, okay, I'm going to eat my vegetables today. I'm calling this angry client or whatever it is. And that's how we know we've really sunk into that.
Yeah, I love it because there is some truth behind every joke. So
there's always some truth behind the joke. So let's go to the interviewing process. Ideally, it doesn't just start with a resume interview because we've done our work nurturing a network, but maybe it does. Maybe we're in this spot where we've got to now hire this new business development leader. In the interview process, how do we start to pull out, is this person a fit for the role? I know I have lots to say about that in the assessment piece, because in my mind, we've got a couple legs of the stool. We want to look at their background. We want to look at their culture fit, and then we want to look at their aptitude. And I love predictive index for that because it's EEOC compliant and it's fast. We're not asking candidates to take a 5-hour assessment. It's 20 minutes all in, and we're getting a great view of their cognitive ability and their behavioral fit. Then if we like those, then we can think about interviewing them. If they're nowhere near what we need, we can save ourselves a lot of time. But talk to me about especially the culture fit, because that seems, we can look at a resume and get some sense, even though it might be inflated a little bit. How do we dig into that culture fit piece? Because that's such a special sauce.
Yep, good. And I like that you said the assessment, right? EEOC compliant, right? Really, I think it's really important that everyone has a shot. So when after they filtered, right, go through your assessments and they get to in the office or on Zoom or phone call, hopefully it's Zoom or in the office in person, we already know, hopefully we have a pretty good idea, especially if we use some of your assessments, that they can do the role, right? So we'll spend just a little bit of the best practices out there, spend 10 to 15% on, can you actually do this, right? Do what's on that job description. Okay, now let's get to the meat of this. And we're asking questions around the core values. Tell me, and what's important here, Melissa, is that, say there's 3 or 4 people that will be interviewing this candidate, right? This is a pretty decent sized job, or it's in a good sized team or company. We're all asking the same questions, right? Share with me a time where there was somebody who didn't live or breathe one of our core values, right? Whatever the core value is, and go deeper. How'd that make you feel? What do you think should have been done? And we're really trying to find out if their definition of the core value lines up with our definition of the core value. And so we're asking, give me when it worked, when it didn't work, what's that mean to you? And just going deeper, tell me more. That's one of my favorite. Just tell me more. What's that mean? They're going to give you about 90% of what's up here that first time. But if you can go tell me more, maybe one or two more times, they'll go another 5% deeper, and you'll get to the heart of it. So because if someone has the right attitude, most of my clients can train them to do it their way, right? And so the attitude is everything, the core values fitting with the culture. So we spend that first time we're meeting with somebody at best practices, or 80% of the questions are all around core values. And in corporate America and all the small business, small to medium sized businesses, it's all do you know how to run the books? Are you a controller? Do you have a CPA background? All that kind of stuff. And the guy he doesn't fit in with our culture. Like it's not a good use of time.
Yeah, they can do the job, they just can't do it within our culture, and then they wash out. And
yep.
It's
yeah.
Go ahead.
And I was going to say, so we also, and again, I know people are like, well, core values, what is that, Bill? Well, just go to EOS or email either Melissa or myself. We'll get you information. But we take these leadership teams, these companies, through a discovery exercise. My old company, we would bring out a menu, right? You can choose these core values. No, we take you through a discovery exercise to make sure these truly are you at your core, right? And then we share with you how you use these to attract the right people. And that's where we are now. But with these core
values, pause on that for a second, Bill, because
yeah.
I think that's probably the most valuable thing I've learned about the core values process in the last 10 years of doing this work is the difference between integrity is our core values and, say, eat your vegetables, or one of our core values is don't hold back, tell me how you really feel. When you can get these little sound bites that people go, oh, because integrity, when they're just banal words, give me some examples of ones you've heard that have kind of stuck to your ribs that you go, that was really good. Because I think they're really motivating to people to go, okay, we need to go beyond.
Yep.
We're learners, whatever.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's go to integrity, right? That's a good one. That's when I'm like, that's not on your list, right? That is table stakes. That is permission to play. Integrity is about adherence to high moral standards and honesty. If you go to dictionary.com, I've read it many times. No, that's us, Bill. No, that's a given, right? Unless you're, I won't say the industry, I had a blue collar industry, and they had honesty on theirs because people aren't that honest in that industry. That's fine. We let that fly, right? Here's one. This is a case study. GSD, get stuff done. Okay.
Yeah.
They're a tech company. But then we meet each quarter, and not all of the rocks are always getting done, right? 50% of the rocks are getting done, and you're like, do we really get stuff done here? So, and actually, I have two companies with that on there. So if one of them's listening to this, they'll know which one it is. So that's an interesting one. But like, do the right thing. Always be learning, have fun. That's in a lot of companies I work with, even these white collar wealth management firms that are, you got to have some fun. You got to laugh every once in a while. You got to go out and, as my son says, touch grass, right? You got to go out, get on a trail, get on the water. Yeah.
I'll actually share with you, I have a CEO that I work with in an EOS run company who he's in the PI language. I think he's a strategist. He's very, very reserved, very serious individual. And he knows that he runs an IT company. And he says, I know it's important for them to have fun, but honestly, I can't stand to watch it knowing that I'm paying all these people that have fun. So what I do is I go in my office and I close my door. And then I let my integrator, my chief operations officer, I let him start a Nerf gun war. But I can't see it or hear it because it makes me crazy. But I'm enabling the fun. I'm just staying out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't engage, I guess just enable, but it
You
just
know,
was making me laugh.
yeah, that's funny. And again, when we say have fun, I probably had 5 companies where it's one of their core values. But then there's 3 bullet points of what it means, right? What it means, right? Like kind of laugh
Yes.
at yourself. I think is one of them. Don't take yourself too seriously, but yet be serious. But back to the interviewing, because I think this is where, again, what we've talked about and always be recruiting, ABR, ARB, sorry, I can spell, is we're going to have better candidates. So when they're in there, we as a leadership team, yeah, right, you, me, as business owners, we need to be on our game. We need to be prepared to have those questions. You're asking the same as I'm asking, right? So, and then we can compare the answers, because what I've seen is people use, these leadership teams use this process, and 3 people interviewed the candidate, and by the time it got to you, Melissa, it was so embellished. It was like, whoa, they didn't tell me that when I asked that
So
question,
we're
right?
testing for consistency is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, yeah. If there's consistency of going on there, if that's going on, and then the other thing, back to that core value speech. What does have fun mean, right? What does eat your vegetables mean, right? Couple bullet points. What a lot of companies will do is they'll read that. If a candidate gets to the second round, they read that, right? Do I want to work with a company where I have to eat my vegetables? And either yes, I want to do this, or it's like, that's not for me, man. This is weird, or whatever.
I heard somebody say years ago, Bill, we should be using our values to scare people away because if they don't
Absolutely.
fit anyway, we better find out early. And I just thought it was like, yes, we
Yes.
should be using them to scare people away.
Yeah, we're the buyer, right? Even though they're going to come work for us and we need to sell our company, the benefits of working here and all that, we're always, and that's another podcast, right? We're always the buyer. We control it, not them. And so, yes, we're finding, we're trying to find every reason to shoo them away. And if they want to keep coming back because they want to work here with the core values and our prospects for the growth, and they see our vision traction, or where we're going in 10 years, 3 years, and they want to be a part of it, great. But yes, we're always trying to sell them away from here. And you can't do that though, Melissa. I got 3 openings right now, and I
If
need
you're
to just get
desperate.
somebody who can fog a mirror and show up, maybe as long as
I
they're
know.
not 10 minutes late. Like, no, no.
One of the things I will say on the predictive index front is in the interview process, one of the things I've loved is PI, if we have an ideal candidate created for this role, and we've got candidates who've come through and we've assessed, what it will do is it will pair this ideal candidate compared to the existing candidate, and it'll say, you know what, ask them these 4 or 5 questions to dig into, can they really they have a gap maybe between the ideal and themselves. Have they ever worked on closing this gap? Say we want someone who's going to take the lead, who's going to take the reins, who likes to take the initiative. Do they have experience doing that, even if they're a more collaborative person by nature? And if we are all asking those same questions and seeing how they overcome that, because some people have some great strategies. Oh, yeah, I've had to do that my whole life. I know by nature I really would prefer to talk it out with people, but I know I need to take action. Those can be, and they're primed for every candidate differently. And so as we think about getting the aptitude and then starting to figure out, okay, can this person do the job? That's been a huge asset in the interview process that is a little different than just our standard questions we ask around core values. And so it's kind of a nice combination of the attitude and aptitude.
Yeah, I like that. So you're looking for someone who's grown, right? Hey, I have a couple some blind spots and I need to work on them. Is that what I heard? Like they're working on that, or
It's really, can I do the role? Because so
okay.
let's take a simple role like quality control. If I don't have detail orientation as part of my core set of aptitudes, I'm probably never going to make it, right? Doesn't matter how many years I've been in quality control. I'm going to cost you a lot of money if I don't have quality control and just absolute gnat's ass detail in my makeup. I'm going to struggle and I'm going to cost us money as a company.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But let's take one around extroversion. Like I'll take myself, for instance. I'm not that extroverted. I only like the people that I like. I don't like all the people. My brother likes every human being he's ever met. He has found something to like about them. But from my PI profile, I'm very task oriented. So if I go to a conference and my task is to get to know people, that's the hat I put on, is like, go do the task. So that's my coping mechanism to say, okay, But if I'm too far out of alignment and my role's just marketing, I'm I'm not going to make it. And we should all know that going up front, because you're setting an interviewee up for failure if we put them too far out of their comfort zone. Another case I'll give you is, like, let's say, well, we have a scarcity of candidates. We only have 3 candidates for one open role and we need to fill it. I have interacted with high level roles. A superintendent of schools is one. And we were looking at her profile. The board really liked her background. They really liked her in the interview. But she wasn't the ideal candidate match we were looking for in PI. And when they hired her, we sat down, she and I said, okay, here's what the board wanted, and here's you. And here's the chasm you're going to have to cross to meet their expectations. She goes, this is so helpful for me to know, because I know how I'm going to approach that, knowing this is in my nature, but I'm going to have to step it up in these areas. And it was so specific for her to just say, okay, I mean, we talked about clear expectations, right? This is one of the most recurring, consistent issues I find when we do employee engagement surveys is, I don't know what you want me to do. If I'm not clear on expectations, guess how much of your time I'm wasting if I'm your employee? So much. Even if I'm at a 4 out of 5, I am wasting your time every day because I don't actually have clarity on what winning looks like.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot to unpack there. In the U.S. world, we say, the right people, right, live and breathe our core values, right seat, they get it, what it is, right? They want it, really want it, right? That's what they get out of bed for, and they want a career. And then the C is the capacity. It's about the ability, the experience, the talent, the skills. Time comes into a little bit, right? Because people think, like now, people are like, I don't have the capacity. I mean, I don't have the time. Well, because that's a time management issue mostly, but because everyone has the same amount of time every day. It's not a priority. So the GWC is really big. It's in the U.S. world, and so we do ask a lot of questions around that and making sure, yes, but we don't need an introvert maybe running the sales team. But who knows? Maybe
maybe running the sales team, just maybe not running point as a salesperson. Because
that's right.
The introverts, what they intend to do is go deep with people. And if you've got 5 salespeople you're managing and you're really honing in on them versus being the one that's out there to the public, it could work. I actually worked with a manufacturing company CEO the other day, and we were looking at her sales team. She has 5 people. And we were talking about which ones were best suited for their long-term recurring clients that are basically just order takers, and they're nurturing that client, versus who's out looking for new business. And we were comparing their PI profiles to align that team. And it was such a fun process, because she's like, I have this one person who I know, he's been a really good technical guy. He works in aerospace, and they love his detail orientation. But guess what? He doesn't do. He doesn't ask for the business. He's so risk averse, but he can tee up these opportunities. She goes, I said, you just need to go with him and close the deals.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I could do that. And he could keep managing the accounts, but he's not going to ask for the business the way she would.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's so tactical for me that I could go do. And so I know we're a little off the always be recruiting, but it's interesting how even recruiting within your own team, how do I help these people level up and support them for their success? If they've already got they're already the right culture fit. They've got lots of capacity because they've learned so much about our business. Now, how do I lead them into success? Because the biggest recruiting nightmare we've seen always is, you take a great salesperson, you make them the sales manager. And guess what? They wither and die. Your sales shrink and everybody's unhappy, because I think there should be some business rule that you never, ever, ever make your best salesperson your sales manager. Because I haven't heard a single instance where it worked out beautifully. It's like, take your mediocre person who's not producing great, but loves to manage people. Let's get them in charge.
Yeah, that's right. You just need more an air traffic controller and accountability officer there in that role, not your number one salesperson. But back to always be recruiting, right? I think that's really important, because people leave companies because there's a better opportunity somewhere else. Really? There should be the best opportunities in here, right? So working with these team members, helping to find out, kind of what their VTO is. Where do they want to be in 10 years, 3 years, 1 year? What do they need to do to get to each of those, right? As far as the learning, the professional development, the shadowing, what experience, right? How do I get experience without experience, Bill? Well, come spend a day with me. Let's and then what are you doing? And right now, it's probably never been a better time on the planet to learn, right? Especially if you're a learner. One of my top 5 in strengths. You can literally go down rabbit holes on YouTube, but man, there's good content. Like these people just putting it out there for free.
And it's free.
It's free.
There's never been a better time to be a learner. I keep seeing these things online about you need to just take a pause for 30 days and go immerse yourself in AI. And here's the 30 tools you should investigate. It's like, whoa, the idea of having 30 days to do that, it's kind of appealing, but hard to get my head around. So I know we're coming up on our time. I love to wrap these with a couple of tips and tricks, kind of takeaways. So I've captured a couple, and I'd love to hear your 2 cents if I missed anything. But what I think we've covered is always be recruiting externally. If we could get every manager in the organization, every leader to do, say, a half hour every week of just mining their network, nurturing their network, mentoring people, and bringing them in for a meet and greet, even if I don't have anything to offer them yet. If we could do that, is one. Always be recruiting internally. We should be doing the same darn thing for our teams. And you can get credit for that too, right? Yep. But not as an external effort. The third thing I heard was really developing a good assessment that we can help identify aptitude to use as a sorting mechanism. And then fourth, I have figure out the definition of your core values matches the candidate's definition of your core values. So that see if there's a mismatch there or if there's alignment. What else did you hear in our discussion that you feel like would be a good in this always be recruiting space?
Yep. So if we're always recruiting and we have talent and we're interviewing, consistency on those interviewing questions, right? More on the behavioral around the core values versus, hey, can you actually, do you have the technical skills to do that? We hope you do. If you don't, and you have the right attitude, we'll teach you, right, our company way. So that the consistency around the interviewing questions, because when we make a decision, we want to make sure it's the right decision, right? Right decision for our company and right decision for this person, right? We don't want to waste people's time. Hard now, easy later is I hear a lot, but we don't want the hard now, right? But that time you invest, it does a lot of things for a company. Time you invest in and always be recruiting, because it also, if everyone at your company knows that this executive team's always looking for talent, people got to be walking a little faster, right? A little studying a little bit more, paying attention to details, living and breathing the core values, because we're a very serious place. So it adds a little bit to the culture, a little more competition, and the right people stay and the wrong people leave. And we're fine with that, right? Because we're always recruiting.
That's actually something on our family farm we've always talked about, is we have such hardworking employees that when we bring in someone who can't keep up the pace, they run them off themselves because they don't want to put up with anybody who can't keep up the pace. And it's amazing. Even irrigators, farm workers, they create their own high performance culture, and you set the expectations. And if someone can't keep up the pace, they're sort of like, they'll tease them. I mean, borderline bullying probably, but when you get into the trades, it's
tough. Yeah. There's a lot of smart people in the trades, really smart people. So. All right,
I'm going to bring back up my screen with our contact information. Bill, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking about this topic with you. There's probably 40 other topics we should be covering over the next couple of years. So I hope I get a chance to have you back on the You've Got People Problems podcast, and have a wonderful Friday. It's been great chatting with you.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, they have people problems, but hopefully we gave them some solutions. So thank you, Melissa.
Love that. Take care. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of You've Got People Problems. If you got something out of the conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with the other leaders in your network, because let's face it, we all have people problems. You can watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on your favorite podcast app. But either way, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.